Okay. Right, thank you everybody for coming along. So I'm going to be talking to you about university admissions tests. I'll give a quick introduction to myself, tell you what questions I'm going to be putting forwards and hopefully being able to answer. Throughout the session, if you've got any questions, please do ask them. Do have a translator here if you want to ask a question in Welsh. Part of my introduction, I will say I actually grew up in North Wales and lived there until I was 18 when I went to university. Unfortunately, my Welsh is very, very rusty, so I will need the translator. So bear with me on that. So yes, as I've said, I'm David Harrison. I was born in North Wales, grew up in North Wales, then went on to study at a number of universities. I've been working with a number of universities, and I've now ended up working for Cambridge Assessment, which is part of Cambridge University, and we actually produce the admissions tests that Cambridge and Oxford and a number of other universities, both in the UK and worldwide, actually make use of. So, what am I actually going to be talking to you about? I've got 4 questions which hopefully I'll be able to provide answers for you. So we're talking about who it is that actually uses admissions tests, why they actually have admissions tests, what do the tests look like, so I'll actually give you a peek at some of the questions, and we'll actually sort of maybe have a go at a few of the questions and see what you think of them and how difficult they are. And I'll talk a little bit about what you can do to actually prepare for these tests. So that's that fairly clear? Yeah? So I'm going to throw it out to you. Who do you think actually uses admissions tests? Anybody brave enough to shout out? Yeah?
I suppose top universities, businesses, accountancy firms.
Okay, yeah, so there's a number of sort of businesses outside of sort of university for professional qualifications will actually use tests to go onto the course, particularly in the areas of law, solicitors, and so on. So there's a number of professions that do, but also universities. And a number of universities, I mean, you said top universities. Not every university uses them, so I can reassure you on that. But particularly as England has stopped using AS levels, more and more universities are actually looking at admissions tests. So I would predict, and obviously I'm biased because it's my work, but I'll predict that universities, more and more of them, will actually start using admissions tests. There's a popular myth that every course or subject at a particular university that does use admissions tests will use them. That's not the case. Okay? Not every single course, even if we're talking about, say, Cambridge University, not every course will actually use an admissions test. So, but the more popular a course is, the more likely it is that it's going to be using an admissions test. So it's something to bear in mind. Medicine and law, professional subjects, qualifications, are more and more using medicine and law. Okay, so those are the ones, if you're thinking of studying medicine or law, the chances are that you're going to have to sit an admissions test. They have a long tradition of admissions tests, and I will be talking in a little bit of detail about those, and I'm happy to answer questions about particularly medicine, but also law. So as I've said, Cambridge and Oxford are the main users of admissions tests at the moment across UK universities. So that is growing. Durham are thinking about using them. A number of medical schools within universities, Leeds, Brighton and Sussex, and so on, are actually sort of using medicine tests. But they're using admissions tests to select for the very best students. Okay, so this really sort of takes me on to the question of, you might be asking is, why do I have to take this test? Okay, what's the point of it? And the important thing is, universities want to find the right people for their course. Okay? They don't want people dropping out, they don't want people deciding after the first year that it's not really for them, that they're not able to do with it. When they've got a popular course, select the very best and most able students for that course. Universities select within candidates with very similar qualifications. Yeah. University gets their applications and people have got A's, A stars sort of across the board maybe, at GCSE, at A level and so on. How do they choose between those students? All of you are capable of doing very well at your A levels. How is a university to decide who are the very, very best? Importantly for the university, it actually gives them one piece of information that's common to all applicants. So if every single applicant is actually doing it, it doesn't matter if they've got applicants from the US, from Australia, from China, from Wales, from England, from Scotland, where very, very different qualifications being taken. So the test actually gives them something common to all of the applicants. Okay, so this is why it's important. But I'm here to point out that these admissions tests are very much just one part of your application. Okay? You've got the advantage sort of in Wales, you're still using AS levels. Lots of universities use AS levels to actually base their offers on. With an admissions test as well, you've kind of got two bites of the cherry. So even if your AS levels don't do quite so well, you can have a go at the admissions test and hopefully really sort of show what you're capable of and convince the university that you are the person that they want. Very quickly, just sort of show you this. So this was a study that was done asking various universities and the admissions officers and tutors exactly what they thought the important outcomes from a degree were and what aptitudes they were looking at for students. As you can see, the top three: critical thinking, discipline or subject knowledge, and problem solving. Now, A levels, AS levels, they definitely answer that the question of, have you got the discipline knowledge? Have you got the subject knowledge for it? But do they really show a university what you were like as a critical thinker and as a problem solver? So that's kind of where we come in. And those ideas of critical thinking and problem solving are key to lots and lots of admissions tests. And they're the sort of abilities that you can't really teach so well. Okay, so there's a question of how do we actually assess them, and also how do you develop them in order to show to the university that you will then go on to develop them even further on a university course. So you might be asking, well, okay, what tests are used? What's out there? This is really a small selection of the tests that we actually produce. BMAT, our biomedical admissions test, is a test for medicine, dentistry, and biomedical sciences. You can see we've got a test of mathematics, we've got STEP, which is also a mathematics test. Things like ELAT, English literature, physics aptitude test, classics admissions test, all used by Oxford University primarily. Last year, Cambridge introduced a series of pre-interview admissions assessments. And this is the list of pre-interview assessments. Okay, so if you're thinking of applying to Cambridge for any of those subjects, you are going to have to do some kind of admissions test, just to sort of warn you. It's a fairly formidable list, and again, the obvious question is, well, what can I do to prepare them? what are they going to be like? Cambridge and Oxford aren't the only ones who do them, and those aren't the only tests. Law, which we mentioned earlier, you've got the Cambridge Law Test, you've also got LNAT. With medicine, you've got a number of tests. Mathematics, you've got a number of tests. There are also various individual courses who will actually apply their own admissions test to you. So don't be surprised, even if none of them have been on the list, that if you apply to a university, particularly a Russell Group university, and they actually say, we'd like you to do some sort of admissions test. Most of the tests you will actually do in your school, and we publish, for our tests, we actually publish the dates. It's usually at the beginning of November. I think this year it'll be the 2nd of November. We'll do them in school, and the majority of the tests are actually paper-based. So you don't even have to worry about computers or them sort of, messing up, or sort of the system sort of shutting down or something. It's plain old paper, and you're actually writing on the tests. Any questions so far? Yeah. Anybody heard of any tests that I haven't mentioned or haven't come up there that you'd be interested in? No? Okay, good. So the tests themselves are very much tests of aptitude and potential. For most of them, you don't actually have to know anything about the subject. But then again, if you're thinking, well, if they're not testing me about the subject, I'm not a university student, I don't know what it's going to be like at university, how are the universities using them? How are they actually deciding who it is? I'm here to reassure you, it's not a random selection, and it's also not a magical process. There's no magical sorting hat that gets put on each of your applications and it pronounces, yes, they will study medicine at Cambridge, or yes, they will be studying law at Oxford, and so on. It's actually a very reasoned and complicated sort of process that's actually doing it. How the specifics, it does vary both from test to test and from university to university. Common factor is it's not the only thing that they're looking at. Also, the admissions tests are generally used to rank you. Okay, university will take your application, look at all aspects of it, and try and do some sort of ranking, and then they choose who they're going to be inviting for interview. It's really and honestly is a chance for you to show what you can do. And I cannot stress this enough. Admissions tests are designed to be as fair as possible and to give you the opportunity to show your potential. And that's regardless of background. There's a lot of myths that in the independent private schools, they're all being sort of tutored and they've all been told exactly what the tests are like and they're getting all of this information that you're not getting. Okay? Trust me, they're not. All of the information about the tests is available. I'll sort of show you our website, show you a lot of the material, and actually explain what we're doing to that. But just to give you a very quick idea of the differences in how different tests are used by universities. I know this is quite a wall of text. This is just about the BMAT. It's about how Cambridge uses it, how Oxford use it, how Imperial use it. We've also got information from UCL, from Leeds, from Brighton and Sussex with their medical schools. So as you can see, it's quite varied, but they're all using the tests, and they're all used in some way to assess your potential, how well you are likely to do at university. So you might be thinking, where does this leave me? My head bouncing around here. And I'm going to be sort of torn between what are these tests, what am I going to be doing, what do I have to do to prepare for them. Has anybody actually had a look at admissions tests or even thought of admissions tests before now? Yeah, one or two. Medicine? Or, medicine, what were you? Right, okay. So, some, but most of you haven't really thought about it. Is that because you've looked at courses and you've thought, well, they're not asking for an admissions test? Or is it just that you're not really aware of them? Yeah, I know you've had lunch, but wake up a little bit. Okay, please do talk. So, this is our website. As you can see, we've got a section for sort of test takers, so that's you. And we actually offer preparation materials and tests. It's also how to make sure that you're registered for these tests. And for a lot of these tests, you actually have to register before you make your UCAS applications. So you kind of have to have a fair idea of which universities you're going to be applying for before you're submitting your UCAS applications in order to make sure that you're registered and that your school is registered to actually administer the tests. But on our website, we do actually put a lot of effort into making sure that you're informed about these. So for the BMAT, for instance, we've got the full test specification. It will actually explain to you what types of questions are going to be asked there, what format the tests take. We provide preparation guides, hints and tips about how to get ready for the tests. I'll also sort of mention some of those as well. We also provide lots and lots of past papers. And I want to stress that all of that is for free. Okay, this is just the first page of the preparation guide, and actually giving you useful tips which I've collected from previous students, from teachers, and from my own knowledge of the test. And it's all there for free. So again, don't think that independent schools are offering these sort of coaching and sort of teaching on these tests. There are courses out there where people are charging £100, £200, £300 for a weekend of preparing you for these courses, and all they'll really be doing is giving you exactly what we offer for free on the website, and maybe one or two of them have sort of sneaked into a session like this and have heard me talking about what's on offer. Okay, so I would really say do not waste your money on any sort of preparation courses that might be offered. It's really not worth it. Everything that you need is there on our website for free. So get to the real meat of things and actually give you a chance to see what some of these tests look like and some of the questions. Now, on average, a question in an admissions test, you're going to have, if it's not an essay question, you're going to have about 2 minutes to do it. So I'm going to put up a question, and I will give you 2 minutes to think about it and see if you can come to an answer. It's a multiple choice question, which people generally think are quite easy. Okay, so ready? Okay. Most of you come to an answer. There's only one correct answer. I will stress that. So, before I talk you through the question, who thinks the correct answer is A? Okay. Who thinks the correct answer is B? A brave lone man there. Who thinks it's C? Okay. D? Oh, very popular. And E? Okay, so we've got at least one person going for every single option. So questions asking, so it says the proportion of time people devote in their lives to travelling from A to B has been constant over history. So with higher speed forms of transport, simply means that people will be willing to travel greater distance. Okay, now you're being asked which one of these options closely follows or parallels that reasoning of if you've got a certain amount, then if something else sort of changes, then it's just going to, it's kind of the idea of the amount of effort that you put into things will fit into the time available. So you get more effort, you're just going to do more work within it. Okay? Any more thought? Anybody wanting to change their mind about which answer they think it is? Okay, the correct answer is actually A. Can everybody see the reasoning there? Okay, mortgage loans always represented around 3 to 4 times a person's annual income. So a rise in average earnings would just mean an increase in the amount that mortgages lend. Okay, just as if you can travel faster, you'll still spend the same amount of travelling, same amount of time travelling. Okay, I'll give you another. This is more of an understanding and argument question. So you're actually being asked to identify the flaw in the reasoning, the error that the person makes in presenting this argument. Voting again. So, who thinks the correct answer is A? Okay, who thinks the correct answer is B? Anybody going for C this time? Yeah. What about D? Oh, okay. You'll be pleased to hear D is the correct answer. Does anybody want to tell me, anybody who got the right answer want to tell me what their reasoning was? Yeah?
I guess because if you say one thing is something and another thing is the same thing, therefore then both things are the same.
Yeah.
The same. So if forgery is copy and then art is French and European
Right. So, very quickly, the paragraph says all forgery is copying. It also says that all art is copying, so therefore, because they're both copying, then art and forgery must be the same thing. Okay? And the same reasoning is French are European, Spaniards are European. Well, if they're both European, then they're both the same thing, so they must be the same. Okay? So, flaw in the argument, flaw in the reasoning. And that's exactly the sort of skill that the universities are looking at and looking to see if you've got an aptitude for reading through things and actually spotting where the reasoning is making mistakes. Yep.
Can I ask, are those actual questions with papers, or are they just what typically go wrong, or they've got hard?
So those are actual questions from live papers. The first one was from the thinking skills assessment that's used by, I think it appeared on the Oxford paper of the TSA, and this one is taken from BMAT. Okay, and very similar sort of questions, and again, that's this skill of critical thinking, of actually being able to follow the reasoning and spot the flaws in it, to follow an argument, are key to a variety of subjects at university level. Okay, it's not just philosophy, for instance, it's actually everything in science, in maths, we're going to be doing it. Here's a problem-solving question. So, for those of you of a little bit more of a mathematical bent, this one again appeared on, I think this one is the Cambridge Thinking Skills Assessment. I will point out that in the tests, you are not allowed calculators. Okay, it sounds like people are keen to answers. So, who thinks the answer is 15 and 16? So option A. Well, you're not so certain there, are you? Okay. Option B. Nobody. Option C. Okay, there is no pattern to the numberings. It's all random, the options. So don't think, oh, it's always C. I'll just go for that. You know, we take great efforts to avoid that. Anybody think it was option D? Sure. Option E? Vast majority. Good. Excellent. Yep, that is correct. So if you think about it, there are always multiples of 32. So the centre spread is going to be for a 32-page book is going to be pages 16 and 17, and then you can sort of calculate it sort of going on from there, and sort of the jumps of pages. Okay, so problem solving, at first glance it seems like it's a mathematical problem. The actual maths involved is always very basic. It's pretty much a primary level sort of maths. You know, as long as you can add, subtract, multiply, divide, maybe know what percentages are or how many seconds in a minute, you're going to be fine. I'll give you another problem-solving one. This one didn't appear in an actual admissions test. I was actually given this when I went for the interview for my current job. So I had to actually work this question and then explain how it worked and so on. There are a number of people in my office who absolutely hate this question. Do remember, in the test, you would have to be doing this individually, silently. You can write on the question papers when you're doing them. See, a couple of people are getting it. It's not a probabilities question, so don't start thinking about probabilities. You're going off on the wrong track there. Okay, so we're looking for the smallest number of cross-headed 3mm diameter, 50mm long screws that could be in this box of 100 screws. So, anybody think that there are absolutely no screws which match those? Anybody go for A? I was quite tempted by A when I first looked at this question. Anybody think that B is the correct answer? Quite a few of you. C, D, E. Okay. The correct answer is actually B. I won't go through the full reasoning, but I saw a few people talking about how the numbers overlap. Okay? So, the trick is to think about where things overlap in that. If you take it 60 from one side, 70 from the other, there's only sort of a small number which fit into it, then another sort of... Okay, those are critical thinking and problem solving questions. So those are very general and they're testing your aptitudes and your abilities to engage in critical thinking and problem solving, which can be applied to a large range of subjects. We also do slightly more specific things. Sorry, I'm going backwards. Here's a question from a BMAT paper, so biomedical admissions, medicine, dentistry, veterinary science. Here, you're actually given a set of information and then a number of questions which are actually trying to get you to answer it based on the information and the data that you've been given. We actually focus on question 9. So, with the information that you've got there, and remember you wouldn't be able to use a calculator in the test, can you actually work out approximately how many times did the average patient see their family doctor in 2000? Anybody still thinking multiple choice questions are always easy? Okay, very quickly, who went for A? Still working out? Anybody think A? Anybody think B? Anybody think C? Anybody think D? And what about E? Okay, we had one person at the back who went for the correct answer of C. Actually, calculate it actually comes out at 3.875 times they've seen the doctor, which rounds up to 4. Again, at university, in almost any subject, you're actually going to be having to analyse data that you've got and make inferences and draw conclusions from it. So again, it's testing skills which, whether you're going to be a historian or a doctor, it's all going to be relevant. Just very quick, here's a BMAT question on biology. Now, I have no biology knowledge whatsoever. I'm a philosopher by training. But with a little bit of understanding, this is a fairly easy question.
graph is showing the internal environment. One is the internal environment already starts changing. If it's
Okay, keep the noise down a little bit. Can anybody tell me what a homeostatic system is? Maintaining a level sort of temperature or whatever, level condition. Okay? So with that information, if they've got a condition which makes their homeostatic system less responsive, what do you think would be altered? The homeostatic system, when it's functioning correctly, will restore things to their normal level. Okay? So, with this, if the homeostatic system is less responsive, what do we think is going to be happening?
It's going to take longer for the body to respond.
It's going to take longer for it to respond. So 2 is going to be higher before it starts acting to bring that down. So say it's their temperature. The temperature is going to be going up. It's going to adjust it. Do we have any chemists in the room? Again, this is a BMAT question. With BMAT, we always keep it to a GCSE level of knowledge. Again, I'm not a chemist. Okay. So hopefully we all know that catalyst is just going to increase the speed of reaction. It doesn't really sort of change things. So A is not going to do anything. Changes in pressure, are they likely to do anything? No. Nitrogen, fairly neutral sort of gas, it's unreactive. So correct answer there is actually decreasing the temperature. Very quickly, a physics question. So, if our object has reached a velocity of 20 meters per second after falling, and it's just falling due to gravity, anybody will shout out an answer? Okay. Anybody will shout out an answer? A, B, B, C, D. Correct answer is actually B. Okay? Mathematics question for you. at first glance, this looks horrible. We're talking about a cube, and you're trying to measure that line. I'll give you a hint. Any maths question, the first thing you should be thinking is Pythagoras' theorem. Okay? I'm running out of time, so I'm going to tell you the correct answer is B. Okay? If you want to be really scary maths, this is the STEP paper. Do we have any mathematicians? Okay. You will possibly have heard of STEP. STEP is considered to be an incredibly demanding maths paper. We also have, in the recent Cambridge assessments, we're talking about reading comprehension questions, where you actually have to read a few extracts and then answer a few questions just to show that you can actually sort of follow arguments, read things like journal articles, abstract reviews of them, and extracting information. Some of our tests actually feature essay questions. So for medicine, this one is taken from the BMAT. And what we're testing with any of our essay questions is really your ability to not only communicate effectively, but also to construct a logical reasoning. Oxford TSA also uses both critical thinking problem solving questions and essay questions. What I'd stress here is, what we're looking for is just your ability to do a rational argument. There are no right or wrong answers. Okay? Philosophers have been talking about whether or not we're dreaming for thousands of years. English literature, geography. So, in the last couple of minutes, I just want to give you some very quick tips. If I could have some quiet, please. Thank you. So you might be thinking, well, how am I going to prepare for these? Okay, first thing is, don't panic. None of these questions were deliberately trying to trick you. All the information that you need is there in the critical thinking and problem solving questions. You've done the science at GCSE level things. It's not trying to trick you, but it's just trying to assess, can you think in different ways? Can you actually apply the knowledge that you already have? Second step, which you're already well on your way to achieving, is actually to know what the test's looking like. Be familiar with what's going to be asked of you. Third is to actually have a passion and an interest in your subject. Because if you're reading around it, knowing more about it, we won't be testing you on additional knowledge, but the more that you enjoy it, the more invested and engaged in the subject you'll be, and that's going to help you deal with the admissions tests, but also any interviews. And the last thing is really to practice. And once you've done that, you can go forward and actually ace any admissions tests that we're going to throw at you. So just as a bit of sort of self-advertising, I would say go onto our website, have a look at the materials. It's all there for free. There's as much information as we can give you there, and it's everything that you actually need. So there's the website. You can actually contact our support people and ask any questions. Anybody have any questions at the moment? Got somebody at the back.
Those first few questions that were like critical thinking, were they like
So those would actually, you could find them across any subject. The critical thinking and problem solving ones are generally applied to almost any subject. As you saw from the OECD sort of graph, critical thinking and problem solving are considered key skills. So you can face those in anything. Anybody else? Yeah. So for the majority of the tests, you do not have to pay for them. The Cambridge admissions tests, the Oxford admissions tests, you do not pay for. It's only BMAT that you do have to pay for. And that's sorted out through the university, and there are also bursaries and so on to sort of fund you if you've got any difficulties in taking it. One more question, and then I'll let you go. So, the majority of our tests are actually sat at the beginning of November. So it's the 2nd of November this year.
So they basically
It's actually in June. Right, thank you everybody.